So the next question comes from the audience. The question is to our panelists, how do you avoid pitfalls and the mistakes? I mean, what really was that mistake that caught you the most when it came to branding? What caught you the most, and how would you avoid pitfalls?
This is going to sound strange to most, but you cannot avoid pitfalls. I will let me clarify. You can avoid pitfalls, but some pitfalls are unavoidable. And those are the lessons that you'll learn to help you with your business to become stronger, to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish in your business, and also to figure out during the pitfalls is the time to kind of figure out your business, figure out who your target market is, figure out what your goals are as far as what product or what service you are trying to convey and why. So pitfalls are very, very important. When I got started, one of the biggest things for me was reaching out to individuals that were already in my field and not being teachable. And so when I came to them on their level, which if you're in my field of work, you want to talk to somebody and you want to help someone that is teachable. So not knowing everything, even though you think you know everything, and just listening and observing and really keeping what you think and what you believe to yourself and being able to listen is key. So pitfall if you must, get back up, learn from that, but teachable.
I would absolutely build off of that and say, if you're getting into business for the first time, the first thing you should look for is a mentor. There are a ton of people out there that have been down this road before. Nobody needs to reinvent the wheel. It's been there before. You're going to put your spin on it. You're going to personalize it. Your message is going to be specific to your brand, to your product, to your service, but there's no reason to feel like you're flailing out there on your own. One of the speakers earlier was from the SCORE office, and I have been going to SCORE for almost the last 2 years. I've seen 2 or 3 different counselors there. SCORE is one of the most underutilized and underestimated services. The skill that sits in that office is second to none. Whether it's financial, you have to understand. Mark was talking about budget earlier. You have to understand your budget better than anybody. You have to know where every dollar and every penny is going to go. There are incredible services that can help you understand and put together a budget. There is a tool online from the SBA at SCORE that is a great tool to build out your initial financial model. So to avoid pitfalls, the first thing I would do is find a mentor, tap into those resources and every tool that they can point you towards, and understand that you're going to have to put a lot of work into it before you take a next step.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
So the next question, we've heard so much about branding. So if you all was to give your own definition, this is the dictionary of you, how would you define branding, and how would that relate to the everyday business owner? Who wants to take this?
Branding is everything about just what Mark said earlier. It's from how you smile when you come into a room. That's the first thing people see before you open your mouth. How do you present yourself, let alone how you're going to present your business. So it's everything. It encompasses how you look, how you interact with people. It's your spirit. It really is. It's about who, do people gravitate towards you, or do they, kind of move away from you? And at some point in time, you do need to, consider all things, and that is your brand.
There are two really different things here that you've heard being talked about today. There's personal branding, and there's the brand for your business. And while the two, especially for small businesses, are connected to each other, they're not the same. Your personal brand is how you represent yourself as a professional in the space, how you look, how you behave, how you act, and how you represent yourself, how you're received when you come into a room. The brand that you develop for your business, if it is a service attached to your person, is going to be very similar. For my brewery, for example, that brand is well connected to me as the person who's running the business, really exists separate from me, and people perceive it in a different way. For example, I have, 2,500, Facebook likes, and I don't have nearly that many Facebook friends. So, I've been on Twitter on my personal handle, for 5 years, and I have, 800 Twitter followers, and I've been on Twitter with my brewery for a year and a half, and I have 900. So there's a connection between the person and the business to some extent, but the business is going to exist beyond you. So when I went back to what I was saying before, branding is telling a story, and you have to understand the story of what your business is, and through a process of defining that story, you're going to attach personal characteristics to it that somebody can appreciate as a person. Your brand might be funny, your brand might be serious, your brand might be irreverent or sarcastic, and that is a way that somebody is going to empathize with your brand. And that is how you develop brand loyalty. That's how you develop repeat business. That's how people come to know you and that business.
Just to add to that, I talk to young ladies all of the time about creating first impressions. Mr. Lee spoke a little bit about it earlier today, that it can take 30 seconds for a person to get a perception or an impression about you, but it takes 7 encounters if that impression is bad to get it to change. And a lot of us don't have that opportunity to get 7 times with a person. And so I always tell people, your brand is your story, but it's your story without speaking. So your brand is the impression that people get when they see you. So your body language, how you interact with people in the room, how you do not interact with people in the room, and then reputation. I strongly believe that reputation plays a huge part in your business. Having integrity, being honest, showing up on time, doing what you say you're going to do is a part of your personal brand, but that kind of correlates into your business. So being able to tell the story without actually speaking is what brand means to me.
Also, for those who are in social media, there is this website called brandyourself.com. Brandyourself.com. Love that website. So you can actually, brandyourself.com. They have different components on there where you can buy services. I'm not buying that. But one of the things that you can do is kind of find out what's being said about you. You can learn that. I like that website. It's free, and it just, you can kind of, they actually go into search engines to kind of like find out what's out there. So as you talk about your image, these are things to really find out. I love this question. I have another question. It says, how do you develop a brand that keeps you from being the Me Too service provider so that you can stand out? So who wants to take on that one?
Sorry, I'm going to talk way too much, but that's a very good question. Passion. If people don't see the passion in what you do, they're not going to be interested in obtaining services. So your story. Why are you doing what you do? There has to be an emotional attachment there, or else I'm not going to be interested in these. You're probably not going to be interested after a year. People just aren't going to be interested. So that being said, how do you stand out your passion? And then your creativity. The niche that you provide in your market is your creativity and will help you to stand out versus another business that may do the same things that you do.
My answer is going to be a spiritual answer. My answer is, what God has for me is for me. And so therefore, if He has given you the gifts and talents that you have, and you know that, then the clients and the customers are going to come to you. So that's my answer. But professionally and just an overall answer to you want to stand out, and how you distinguish yourself again goes back to telling a story. It's what you're passionate about. And as I mentioned earlier, I learned that even though I could do all things, there was a couple of things I did really well. And so those things, that's what I spent, that's what I've spent the last 20 years cultivating, and that's what has been the foundation for my business.
Mine's going to feel very academic compared to those. Honestly, it's actually the same exercise. You're just going to do it on a piece of paper. You have to differentiate yourself from your competition. Otherwise, you will be perceived as a Me-Too brand. Mark put up on a slide, SWOT analysis. Has anybody ever done a SWOT analysis before? Have you ever done a SWOT analysis for your competition? That is the first place to start. You need to make a list of who your competition is. If you want to differentiate yourself from your competition, you have to understand your competition. A good brand does a lot of research. You can do a lot of research online, and you also can do a lot of primary research, asking your clients, asking your customers how they perceive your brand. If you want to differentiate yourself from somebody else, and somebody that's using your service can't do it, you're failing. You need to learn from those examples. A woman earlier asked a question about feedback that had been put on Angie's list. What I would do and what I will be doing at the brewery is soliciting feedback from my customers. I want to know what their experience is like and how it feels, whether it's on a piece of paper, whether it's reading their comments on Twitter or their Facebook or Foursquare check-ins, or whether it is, something more official, a forum where I'm getting feedback. I want to understand how that experience, that product is being perceived, and then I need to compare that to my competition. So you really got to understand your competition, spend time against that, analyzing them, so you can then compare it. You'll see what your strength is, what you're good at, and that's what you really want to play against. You'll see what you're weak at, and is that something that you want to focus on getting better? That weakness might also be an opportunity. The threat is probably the key strength of your competition. So really understanding your competition and where you fit in the market. Just because you offer similar services doesn't mean you offer the same services. And differentiating will be easy once you understand, the details behind the competition.
I have one other thing to add to that. I'm a subcontract to marketing firms, who do not provide the services that I provide. So even though we have sort of core foundation, similar things that we do offer together, or that we do independently, but we do offer, just know that you might be able to establish those type of relationships and collaborations with those companies. Some of those relationships that I have been very significant in terms of money, because I provide a service that they don't have a staff person or a team person to do that. So think of yourself as, as a resource to that particular company. So there's ways to, it's competitive, but yet it's like, you know what, we can do this together.
That's an answer. Good? Okay. You all feeling good? I like to do a temperature check to make sure we're all on point. It's good? Wonderful. Everybody's here like, oh God. But it's worth it. I'm going to say Brandon is high, right? Okay. I tried to be funny.